I don't want it stone on the ricochet.
Turn it in on my left.
I heard the rails hurt them so far it doesn't sound like it.
See, this is 8-3.
All right, got the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to the August 3rd, 2022 special meeting of the Gates County Board of Commissioners. I'm Dr. Anthony Riddick, 2022 Chair of the Board. I'm joined by this afternoon with Commissioner Linda Hoffler, Vice Chair, Commissioner Jack Owens, Commissioner Ray Freeman, and Commissioner Jonathan Craddock, and County Manager Tim Wilson. At this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Hoffler to lead us in prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone can stand. Heavenly Father, thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on our county, our state, and our nation, on us as individuals as well. Help us always live lives that will be pleasing in our sight, and give us wisdom and discernment tonight as we try to work on problems in front of the county. Help us come to have a discussion that we speak our mind, but we do it with love, and that we will learn to listen to each other and come to agreements that is the best for all people. All these things we ask in thy name and for thy sake. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As I stated, this is a special meeting of Gates County Board of Commissioners. This meeting is to discuss public utilities, water, wastewater, treatment, and broadband service, review selection of firm for preparation of land use concept plan for county 144-acre site on Highway 158. All discussions and actions will be relative to those items and those items only. During special meetings, we do not have citizen comments. We've asked that our public directors, Mr. Brad Arnold, to join us, and also Director of Planning and Zoning, Ms. Lisa Cherry, to give us an update and any actions we must take during this meeting or the next meeting, which is our regular meeting to be held on August 17th at 5:30. At this time, I want to ask Mr. Arnold to come forward. And any questions you have relative to water, wastewater treatment, and broadband, once he does his presentation, and any actions we have to take. I know it's something we have to do without engineering and everything. So he's going to make some announcements, he's going to make some updates, and this is Mr. Brad Arnold.
Good afternoon, board members. I hope you all are doing well today. I'm here just to give you a little overview of the things that I've done over the past week or two for the AIA grant. I reached out to 3 different companies, engineering companies that was listed by the state list. It was Weathers and Revnall, Green Engineering, and McGill and Associates. I really didn't have a special one in mind. That was the 3 that I knew a little bit about that I've dealt with in the past. And Green Engineering reached out to me first. They're the one that got back to me first, and I spoke with Rodney Tart. And he filled me in on a lot of information to help Gates County become, what's the word I'm looking for? To be able to get the grant easier. The grants are based on point systems like distressed utilities or whatever. He gave me a couple of things that the county needs to do as far as improving points, gaining more points, which a couple of those things are capital improvement plan. We need to get one of those in place. A I believe he said that was 5 points. And a wellhead protection plan. Those were the two main ones.
Wellhead?
Yes, sir. That also carries 5 points. And he stated that as us being a distressed utilities, we were put on the top of the list, which that'll be a big, help as far as that goes. As far as the AIA grants, he said, well, they're limited to $150,000 per utility, which is $150,000 towards wastewater and $150,000 towards water. And that would be over a 3-year period. And as far as green engineering goes, they have a great resume as far as grants and AIA grants that they've helped. They've helped the town of Hertford. They've helped Bertie County, City of Durham, City of Raleigh. It's a whole list. I can't remember. I didn't write them all down, but they have a great track record and a great resume as far as award bids. What they need from us to retain them is an official letter stating that Gates County would like to retain them as an engineer. Of course, it's totally up to the board, but and they would need a copy of the distressed declaration page.
Okay.
I don't know if Dr. Reddick or Tim has it, one of y'all has it, but they need a copy of that. Rodney also, Rodney and Mr. Leo Green, which is the owner of Green Engineering, is going to be at the training in Williamston next week on Tuesday the 9th.
The 9th, correct.
Yes, ma'am. He wants to meet, us face to face and discuss our system a little further. They do not charge for AIA to write the grant. The charge comes in if we use their engineering firm to write the grant, but then choose another engineering firm to design the projects, and then we'll have to pay the grant back. But if we retain them as the engineer, the grant writing portion of it is free.
Now, is that also, and Madam Chair, we're sort of going to be informal.
Yes, just wait, just don't talk over each other, just, be recognized. So you can just ask him questions when you think of them, or just let them finish.
Okay. So speaking about the grant, they're talking about possibly assisting us if we agree in putting the grant together, writing the grant, submitting the grant, administration of the grant?
That would be if we were awarded the grant, then
There would be
as he explained, if we retain them to do the administration, if we're awarded, there's no cost for them in the work and the preparation of the application.
That's right.
Okay, I didn't hear the word administration, like if we were awarded, that's the only thing, that was my concern. Okay, that's good.
Do you know what it would cost if we did decide to go with someone else?
Between $8,000 and $12,000. Somewhere in that ballpark is what he said. And speaking of the wellhead protection program, I did reach out to Katie Dunning of North Carolina Rural Water. They can give Gates County, they can write a wellhead protection plan free of charge. I have already got us put on the list to do so. It'll probably be the spring before it gets done, but we're on the list to get that done.
Good.
You're also going to reach out for someone to help us with the capital improvement plan.
Rural Water can help us with
They're
that
going to
also.
do that, good, okay.
But that's going to take a little more sit down and talks and going over the system and finding out what we need and what the county expects on a 10 to 15 year plan.
For that CIP plan, do they require a countywide plan, or can it be a plan specific to public utilities? Just that one would obviously take much longer than the other.
Yeah, it would.
For the entire county.
I don't know that right offhand, but I can get you that.
That'd be a
answer.
good question to ask.
Yeah, I'll ask them. And as far as RFQ, you know, request for a quote, AIA grant does not require that. That's required, you know, if we, or if y'all decide to retain them, then they would do a RFQ as far as putting out bids and, you know, all that stuff. And that's pretty much it as far as that's pretty much it as far as the engineering portion of that.
Okay, let me back up. I'm doing double duty again. Our clerk is still out, so I'm trying to get notes down best I can without watching. Brad, of course, is the Director of Public Utilities. And we requested that Brad and Ms. Cherry, Director of Planning and Zoning, to secure or get bids or reach out to engineers in the area or out of the area that had experience in writing that AIA, the assessment and inventory proposal. We were sent the list from the agency. They sent us a list, and that's the list you used. I'm helping him out because he looks like he's nervous.
No, I'm not nervous.
He knows all of this.
Not nervous. You don't rattle.
You don't rattle. But anyway, I'm trying to get background so we understand what we're getting ready to approve. We have to have an engineer to help with the grant, to write the grant, because they know how to do it. And all three of these, the three that they chose to look at or to work research, have experience doing that. Green Engineering recently finished Columbus County, I think.
Correct.
Columbus County. So they fresh off of one, county going into another one. There's a training next week where Brad will attend, along with, if we approve Green Engineering, while we're here, because we need to get that grant in. I mean, the grant in by September 30th. It's going to take a long minute for them to do that. They just can't come in and write something. They got to get on it. That's why I put these meetings together so that we can walk it through and get the approval so we can move forward. The action I heard you ask for, and then, somebody had to make it. He needs an approval to work with official document that we want to secure his services,
Correct.
Green Engineering, as the person that's going to prepare that grant, AIA. What does that mean? That AIA is the springboard toward those other grants. Got to get that in. Got to get it done. That triggers a lot of other things that we're going to have to apply for. Without that, we can't go forward. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct. So I'm trying to get some background. I bought your email that you sent me, so I can look at it and make sure that we have all the information that the commissioners need to make a knowledgeable, not only motion, but the vote. And Green Engineering says that they have 70 years of business experience in Wilson, North Carolina, providing engineering services to small and rural communities throughout eastern North Carolina. And just like, I don't want to repeat everything you said, but I want to put that in there, that they're not some fly-by-night, neither was McGill and the other one that they looked at as well.
Withers Revenue.
Rivers Revenue.
They actually just got the town of Hertford $14.9 million.
I saw that in the paper this morning.
Water and wastewater improvements.
They sure did, $14 million. I'm like, really?
So let me, if I may,
Go ahead.
I realize that Green, I know we know nothing about them. They're the only ones that have reached out to you, right?
They were the first ones that reached out to me and provided me the most information.
Right.
So that's why I spoke with him. But I did get in contact with, or McGill and Withers and Revenue contacted me back, and they are also willing to help us. So it's not just staying with Green.
So when we're putting these firms on the scale, I just heard that the other name got 14 and some million dollars. That sounds good too.
Yes.
So when we put them on the scale, how are we going to weigh them? I mean, we need to move, and get rolling with whoever. But just because I heard Green, I don't want to automatically say, well, Green's the one. And I'm not saying they're not, but
I agree.
How are we going to make that decision?
I've done some background on those three that I mentioned, and it's a pretty level ball. I mean, pretty level ball field. I mean, they're tit for tat, either one. All three of them are great companies.
Okay.
So,
And the grants are going to vary. I mean, I take your point, the more expertise in grant writing, hopefully a better grant presentation, but it's also going to be each individual locality's characteristics and indicators that are going to determine how well or how poorly they score also in their award.
Do we know what a good score is on this particular?
I don't, he had mentioned the score, he just, Rural Water and Mr. Rodney both said it was based on the score, a point system.
Yeah, well, not
The
only a
more-
point system.
The higher the points, you better your chance.
Right, but not just the point system. If you didn't, I realize that the capital improvement plan is only 5 points, but if you didn't have that in there, you wouldn't get what we're talking about.
Well,
Yeah.
not necessarily, being that we're a distressed utility, that puts us way up on the
Right,
list.
so that might
So
override that.
That-
But with every point we got would be better, I'd rather
Absolutely.
have some extra points than not enough.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, so we're here to conduct business and we're here to move the process along and not delay.
So what I'm hearing is, not putting the words in your mouth, Commissioner Owen, you want a recommendation from Mr. Arnold, who's the director, who's working with those companies. The listing that was sent to Mr. Arnold and Ms. Cherry had all of them listed with points. And if they were in the green, that meant that they had been successful. The ones in white were not funded. All three of them were in the green. All of them scored just about the same. So that's why he's saying, when he talked to Mr.
Rodney Tart.
Rodney Tort, and he talked with them, and then he looked into their background. And I can send that chart. We got the chart from Brian Grogan, who's the executive director of the water, whatever, at the top. And I got so much stuff here. And that's why I asked Mr. Arnold to do it, because he's the expert in public utilities, and he was familiar with those, with some of them anyway.
With all three of those.
With all three. And so when he came to set this email back and I saw it, I said, okay, now it's time for him to present to the board, choose somebody, so we can get that done, because that
You're
letter has.
recommending green.
That's who I recommend, yes, sir.
Mr.
Yeah.
Wilson said
And
it's- you
excuse
do
me.
with green. All right. So moved.
So you, and Mrs. Cherry looked over them too.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we sit down and talked about them. There was others on the list that I've had dealings with that I would not recommend, so.
Just one point I'd like to make in discussing this particular grant program with Mr. Arnold. It was, there's water and wastewater, and I asked, if you wanted to do both, did that have to be divided? Did you have to have a separate application for water and a separate application for wastewater? We can actually request both under the singular application, and we agreed that the county does have water and wastewater treatment needs. The water side would be predominantly looking at doing upgrades and maintenance to the existing plant and maintenance and repair type work to the distribution system. We're pretty good on capacity right there. The wastewater treatment, that's the one where it's going to become more involved, because, and where this board is going to have to weigh in with some decision-making in terms of what size or capacity plant are we looking at trying to design and build or proposing in our application, and also where would be the distribution area that we would be looking at in terms of trying to provide wastewater. So we can ask for both the water and the wastewater underneath the one application. Like I said, the water is pretty straightforward, and I'm sure Mr. Arnold can present you with, a listing of the particular items, but some of the discretionary decisions will be with the wastewater treatment. What size plant, what service delivery area.
Now, I would expect that all of the information to come from Brad and Tim to the board,
Yes.
so that we can make that decision on capacity
Yes.
And distribution, whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Brad, that'll come pretty quick as far as,
As far as problems, yes, I can give you those pretty quick. But as far as like projects and how much it's gonna cost,
Right.
they would work along, with the asset grant would provide some of that.
So the document and the information that we pull together, is it fair to say that you and Tim and possibly Lisa will provide a document with all the things that we need to know? And, okay.
Yes, sir.
That will be, that's going to be all inclusive because that grant has to be all inclusive and whoever we choose, if it's Green or whatever, have to work very closely with Brad. Brad's going to have to be almost like double duty in the field doing the day-to-day, but he also going to have to work with, because they don't know us. He's going to have to help feed them and they're going to do some assessment. That's why it's called assessment. They've got to do an assessment, they got to do an inventory, and then they're going to have to do a rate study. The rate study is in the future because we got on the list, when we went to Hertford, Ms. Hoffman and I talked with Mr. Grogan and his director that works with the rate, and we were not on the list, and they put us on the list. So when he writes that grant, Green, if it's Green, when they write that grant, we have to say that we're on the list to have that rate study, because that's part of the application package. So we're not going to have that. She said it won't be finished, but it might be near finished, but either way, we're going to put it in the grant application, and we can talk about that. You can talk about that next week in Wilmington, because if whoever we choose, and that's another thing I think you missed, that I don't know if you said it or not, that they said they will be at the application training next week. They're coming, so they can sit and talk with Brad and whoever else and get themselves together.
And that date again was?
August 9th.
August the 9th in Williamston.
Oh, Craddock, you get back to your action. Your motion.
I'll make the motion to move forward with Green Engineering.
I'll second that motion.
It's been properly motion and second. Motion was made by Commissioner Craddock, second by Commissioner Freeman. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. So, Brad, we need to know exactly what he needs in that letter. So the sooner you get it to us, the sooner we can get it to our county attorney and the county manager to get that together and get it on the, it's been approved. So, but I need to know what we need a draft. Exactly what he needs that letter to say, is a resolution or whatever, so we can move forward. So to make it clear, we're partnering with Green Engineering. Okay, Mr. Arnold, can you share with us some of the issues you found thus far since you've been here, 2 months?
Water or wastewater?
Both.
Both, okay.
Do one at a time.
Maybe we'll have enough time.
No, that's the highlights.
Well, let's start with wastewater. We have a bunch of, obviously we have the new spray field that has not been put in use. I have worked with, I'm currently working with Rural Water. They're supposed to come down and do an assessment on it to see what it would take to get it up where it can actually run, where we can switch flows from the old one to the new one. We're in need of a sludge tank out there. What Mr. Tankard from DEQ said, I'm trying to quote exactly what he said, a decent cover crop needs to be planted out there, which they recommended Bermuda grass. All the old grass be taken up and new Bermuda planted. We have the control panel is not operable. It's sit out there in the weather. It hasn't been used, so the circuit board is fried. They got wet and they're corroded up, so it'll only work in manual. You can't work it in automatic.
So we need a new control panel.
New control panel, yes, ma'am.
Is the control panel, should it have been encased, covered, a small room or something, or?
It should have. It wasn't. It's right on the outside of the building, the main building. When you go, it's in the direct sunlight, the weather. There wasn't a hood or anything put over it. It's just the element. Yeah, elements just eat it up. The old spray field, I'll just bring y'all up to speed. You know, we had all those violations, 7 violations at the old spray field. All those are corrected except for one, and I'm waiting on parts for that. That's the meters. They recommended us put a new effluent meter out. I have those ordered. I had a call Monday saying everything is in, but I'm waiting on a time to schedule to put it in. We repaired the fence. We've mowed and continually mowed, which the weather has helped us because it's been hot and dry. So that helped that a lot.
Are you able to spray there now?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
You are, okay.
Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah. We hadn't actually had to spray too much because schools are out.
Right.
So we hadn't had the flow and hadn't had much rain. So we've only sprayed 3 times last month.
Okay.
3 days, that's all we had to spray. We had the fence repaired. They violated us for the fence. A portion of the fence had been torn down. We just got that fixed today. I think that's it as far as the plants that we were, violated for. And plus, one was not having an ORC, but I'm the ORC now, so that portion's covered. That's primarily it on the wastewater side. We do have 2 manholes that need to be fixed. I was aware of that Monday, one on Honey Pot Road and one on Cotton Gin Road. I think the one on Cotton Gin Road got hit by a tractor, knocked the top of it off and slid it over and broke the concrete. And I think the mower's got the one on Honey Pot.
Okay.
That mow the sides of the road. So we have to repair those. That's pretty much it on the wastewater side.
We were under a moratorium. Where are we now?
We're still under a moratorium. To my understanding from Mr. Tankard, we will not be released from the moratorium until the new spray field is up and running.
Okay.
So I know you said replanting grass with Bermuda. So I know a lot of surrounding counties when you got to get rid of your clippings.
Right.
So something to think about is having a farmer that wants bale hay. So I'm sure you're familiar with that, but
Yes, sir.
that's a good way to get rid of clippings. So,
some seed.
and Bermuda grass is highly sought after in hay.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Water?
Water side, we do need some improvements at the water plant itself. We have 2 pump casings that are real rusted. They're in bad shape. They leak real bad. Those items need to be, replaced and a fresh coat of paint on it. We have outside lighting issues at the water plant. None of the outside lights work. We need to get those working. As far as the well goes, well 3 is leaking bad. The backflow needs to be changed and it needs to be repacked, which that can all be done in-house. We just have to get the parts when we do that here. Of course, the many leaks we have, that we've been working on those. Been working on the service lines to the houses. I'm waiting on parts to come in to do the bigger lines. We have, last count, I think it was 15 leaks throughout the county, big leaks on mains.
You said 15 main leaks on the big pipes, right?
On the big pipes, yes, ma'am.
when you say big pipes, you talking about like 8 or 10 inch? Or?
Yes, 6, 8s, and 10s, 4 inch, We have a few 2 inch lines, but we're waiting on parts as far to fix those lines, I mean.
Okay.
There's a few, they're not river crossings, I would say not even creek, ditch crossings that goes under. Apparently there's a few places there's one on Carter's Road, and you have to forgive me, I'm not very familiar with Gates County yet, I can't remember the road name, but there was another one at a culvert crossing. I guess there was a leak in the bottom of the ditch, and the lines were just capped. The line wasn't never replaced or put back in service, so the water lines aren't looped. That's
It's a dead end.
pretty top priority, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Why that's
As far
the
as
pri-
Stagnant.
keeping
why that's the
fresh
priority is
water
because
and-
of stagnant water
Yeah.
that sits in the end of those lines.
That's not on Highway 32, is it? Is that on a smaller road?
It's on it's a secondary road.
Okay.
Okay.
And of course, the elephant in the room, the meters.
The meters.
The meters.
Yeah.
The big ones.
And it's,
Are you working?
I think I recall-
I know you're working on them.
I'm working on it.
and I think I recall maybe a meeting before, you said hundreds of meters, or,
I talked to ex-employees, and both of them said I first heard around 400 or 500, but both of those said around 800, 900
broken.
I think when
that are broken, yes.
Commissioner Owens and I took a look at the water, we were told 400, over 400.
400 plus.
Yes. 800 plus.
Yeah.
So until we actually get eyes on every one of them, and actually, I mean, it's just a ballpark number.
Do you utilize I want to call them runners that come in to assist and identify meters or leaks or whatever? I can remember what term they used in my notes somewhere. In other words, is there a way to get assistance in identifying and actually helping with replacing, or we're not going to do? What are we going to do? Because I heard two different things.
What we did with the town of Eatonton, we hired third-party performance services, and they come in and done a evaluation like an asset. And they took 10% of our meters and sent them off to have them tested. And out of that 10% of our meters that they took out and they replaced with their meters, they give us a breakdown of how many broken meters, what percentage the meters was reading, whether they were reading at 90%, 80%. So it's it'll give you a good baseline of probably what average your system's doing. I do not recall what the price of that was. I can reach out to them. I've actually spoken with them already, but I can get that information to you.
I would like to hear
If that
that.
is something that would,
I would like to hear that.
That way we can better plan.
yeah. We found out in Eatonton that out of the 10% of our meters that we sent off, 75% of the 10% was reading at 60% or less.
A lot of water going down.
Yeah, so that's a lot of lost revenue, you know, that we're not.
That's why I asked that question, because I heard it before. I just couldn't remember. It's in my notes about the meters that we do have. You know, they're not efficient as far as reading and capturing real-time, real water, and that we're losing revenue with the water leaks and everything.
And to my knowledge, I think there's quite a few meters that are still original meters that was put in when the system was put in.
Good
In 81, I think it was, 80 or 81.
It's 40 years old. Plus,
So,
Brad, on the wastewater, I'll just use that as an example. You indicated there were 7 violations, 6 of them have been taken care of so far. Have you spoken to the powers to be and made them aware that, hey, we've
Yes, sir.
done this many of those and doing that periodically?
yes, sir.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than wait, like if you had 6 things on the water side rather than wait until you had all 6 of them. It might be better to stay in contact with them and
Yeah, I have a very good
Right.
working relationship with the state on the water and the wastewater side.
good.
I'd rather
Good.
for them to be my friend than my enemy. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we stay in
Yeah, that's
contact
right.
very much.
Yeah, send them a Christmas card.
Yeah, that's right.
So I knew there was a potential fine. Did we get fined?
I don't think we got fined. I don't think we got assessed a penalty.
No, I think the county, I want to speak, I think he wrote I saw, go ahead, sign off on it, explaining, what was going on and everything. We never got the fine from the EPA about that. And there was another letter that came in that we got a letter in 2021 in the spring about the distress unit list. And we sent a letter in back then explaining, whatever, and they delayed it. They did a reassessment of it. And when it came back, we ended up on the distress list. So,
There was a few other hiccups, along the way that presented itself as we went along. The permit was due. It was supposed to be started in January of last year and was supposed to be approved by August of last year. Well, the permit was sent in incomplete, so I had to redo the whole permit process, start it over, redo it, send it back to the state. So, to Lauren Plummer, and she's got all that information, and so far she said it's good. They're just waiting on approval from Rob.
okay, good.
So, hopefully we'll hear back from that shortly.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
Just on the water meters, Mr. Arnold and I have discussed, since there's such a large number I've heard has been several hundred, and we've been talking about going to the remote sensing meter, about looking at maybe possibly not replacing the existing meter, because I'd hate to spend the money on the purchase and installation of several hundred meters, water meters, just to have those pulled out of the ground and replaced with remote sensing. So we're gonna,
Yeah, we done a ballpark. I think we said 500 meters. To replace 500 meters, it costs about $120,000.
yeah, and so that would just be a lot of, in my mind, money also. I know he's got a lot on his plate right now with trying to get these grants in, but that's one of the things that we want to try to move forward on next, is getting the quotes in for the installation of the remote sensing meters, because that will greatly enhance the time in terms of collecting the information, doing the billing and so forth. And it's such a large number. And did ask about, I inquired, did the old meters actually have value to them, scrap, whatever it may be, because 4,000 some odd meters is a lot of meters. And Mr. Arnold informed me, what's the metal in it because it's for harvesting a precious metal.
A little piece of platinum in every one of those brass meters. And the city of Raleigh, I think they put up a lot of, I think they had right at 5,000 meters. They sold those meters for $45,000.
Yeah.
Somebody bought them just to get a little bit of platinum out of them.
So yeah, what they're doing, it's a case where the meter's no good, but it has a precious metal in it, so companies buy it. And so that's something that we can use to negotiate, to knock down, if the company we choose will take that. Obviously they still need to make some money off of it, but, instead of us trying to take 4,000 some meters, where are we going to place them? How are we going to try to sell them? It's kind of worth our while to let the company do a turnkey, but obviously get some money knocked from the price, because they do contain that metal.
I would recommend keeping the meters though.
That-
Tell them they couldn't have the meters. We'll get rid of the meters.
You're the man.
You're the man.
That's why you're the director.
Sounds like a catalytic converter
I was
problem.
thinking the same
It
thing.
might be going through the middle at us.
Now people be digging our meters up.
Yeah, they would be. Digging the ones up in their own yard.
Just 2 other items on the water. Working with Mr. Arnold, he did a good job contacting companies. We find out that our water tanks have not been under any type of maintenance schedule, and they should be regularly examined and inspected inside and out on a periodic basis. We have one tank that really is in need of immediate cleaning. out of the firm's solicited bids, we went, it was Southern Corrosion had the most responsive one. I've had the attorney review the contract. He has sent that back with some questions that I'll be able to answer in the affirmative. So we're getting one tank that's in desperate need of maintenance. Will soon be taken care of in terms of repair and maintenance, and all of the tanks will now be on this is a long-term maintenance schedule. Because correct me if I'm wrong, these tanks have never been cleaned internally.
Not to my knowledge.
And
State recommends cleaning them out, repainting every 5 years and cleaning the inside every 3 years.
Yeah,
That's state
And we haven't
recommendations.
done that.
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge.
I
So-
think we've
They've never
had some,
I'm sure something's been
painted,
done over
painted,
the
I
last
think.
40 years.
I believe that was some painted.
No, no.
I was thinking the one in Sunbury was painted.
I was gonna get to that point after we finish with the meters, but,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your
no,
thunder.
you're fine.
But you can tell the findings that we found in one, if you like.
The raw water tank,
Yeah.
there's about anywhere from 5 to 6 feet of dirt in the bottom of it. It's never been cleaned out, washed out.
Which tank?
Raw water tank is what our wells pump
Oh,
into that
okay.
holding tank. And then the water plant pulls it out of the raw water tank. And we hit it with chlorine, then it goes out in the system.
That's the one I said, there's an immediate need for that.
And there's a very great potential of having brown water issues again.
Because of that?
Yes.
With the heat, with it being hot, that thing, it'll burp and like throw up stuff, and then it
Right.
shoots it right out in the system, and it just goes everywhere.
I'm using the term, the powers to be, the folks that know about the moratorium and all of that, and
Yeah.
the distress. Are they aware of what of that sediment? Are they aware of that?
No, not that I know of.
Y'all now,
Well, they're about to be, yeah.
and they should be.
But they also know that we're
They know we're
taking
working on
immediate
addressing it.
corrective action.
Right.
And that's the good thing about these first week or the meetings we're having, because we're all on the same page. We know what has to be done, and we're not jumping all over everywhere, and we have an expert here that will help us. And if we're going to, if we have to get off the distress list, we have to be transparent. We don't want them finding it.
So, one thing that I think we don't have to hear it tonight, but one of the things that the board needs to hear is the priority of these things, especially being I'm hearing about this tank that needs to be addressed. You know, what's the priorities? And again, we don't need to hear those tonight, but I think if we could hear that and sometime soon.
I can get that to you
Okay.
real quick.
I know you said pumps. We had some pumps that were leaking pretty bad.
At the well.
Were they just regular centrifugal pumps or like Goulds pumps?
Vertical shaft pump.
Vertical turbine
Yeah.
pumps? Okay.
Well, it's actually the only one we have left on well 3. The other 2 are submersible.
Submersible, okay.
And one of those pumps are inside the building in Gates, is that?
No, all 3 of them are outside.
Okay.
They're on Water Plant Road.
Okay.
I work with pumps and vertical turbine pumps and everything if you need any contacts, so.
Okay.
Be glad.
Good resource.
Anything else for us?
Well, as a result of the moratorium too, Mr. Arnold, do you have any insight as to whether or not we're going to be fined for those issues?
My professional opinion, I would have to say no, because we're improving on those and they understand our situation. And I have talked with them. Both the wastewater and the water side both have said that they're willing to work with me to help us any way they can to get us like we ought to be.
Sounds good.
I know at Hereford, everybody was very willing to work with us if they saw us putting forth the initiative to correct them.
Did we ever determine exactly what caused that failure?
Which failure?
The one on the wastewater? One that DEQ has a problem with?
Just lack of maintenance over the years.
Is that the 40,000?
Oh, you're talking about the new spray field or the old spray field?
Well, the new spray field where I think that's where they had a problem, right?
Well, the only problem with that was, I guess it was never put in service. And is the reason that it's the way it is now. I don't know why it wasn't put in service. I don't have an answer for that. But hopefully we will get that corrected very shortly.
Yeah, we talked about diverting flow to that, if nothing else. We thought
Yes.
that should have been done originally, just to run the system through the full,
I mean,
through the full trials, just to make sure
The
that
plant,
everything worked.
the plant and the spray field works. You just have to work it manually. You can't work it in automated, but it works. Because we do go out there and turn them on and pump the rainwater out of the holding pits and the lagoons and stuff. So it does operate. It just doesn't operate automatically.
And I believe you said something about a new sludge tank.
Yes,
The one we have there, we do not have one?
We do not have one.
We do not have a sludge tank, okay.
we have the cement pad poured for it, but we don't have one on it.
And what's the volume of that? If it were there, what would that volume be?
I think you can get different sizes. You can get 250, 500, 1,000 gallons, 2,500 gallons. Our system wouldn't need a big one. I actually talked to the state and they said the flows that we're recording as of now, it'll probably only have to be dumped once a year.
Wow.
So
And somebody comes and,
somebody will come pick up the tank, drop another tank to haul it off, yeah.
Okay. Years past, and this, I just want to bring this up because when you said somebody coming hauling it off or whatever, in years past, we entertained the idea, I don't know if we ever did this or not, of soliciting farmers to take wastewater to their fields. Have you ever dealt with any of that?
We did in Eatonton a little bit.
Yeah. Is it beneficial?
We couldn't find anybody to take it.
Okay. End of conversation. Okay.
Nope.
Regulation wise, probably.
Well, you'll have to take, you have to take samples and they'll have to classify it as A, B, or C. A, you can land apply it and, farmers can take it. Anything less than that, they won't do it, but we couldn't find anybody who wanted to bite on it.
Did the staff member that DEQ interviewed about the equipment, was that ever fixed? Do you remember? DEQ interviewed, staff member came out.
Yeah, yes, that's been settled.
Been settled or been fixed?
It's been fixed, both,
Been
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arnold.
All right.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. You too, Ms. Cherry. Green Engineering, looking forward to it. In the same line is talking about broadband service. I sent you an email, or everybody, I forwarded an email today about broadband and the great grants that are being awarded. They're awarding them every Monday. Last Monday, they awarded 12, I think, and Monday, this past Monday, they awarded 11. None of the 11 this week is in Northeast North Carolina, if you look at the list. And last week, only 3 was in Northeast North Carolina. I think it was Chowan, Hyde, and Bertie. And what's happening is the first choice with the collaboration that Bertie wanted or had partnered with, not wanted, but partnered with, was not awarded to that ISP. It was another ISP that they awarded. So we're working on that to find out why. And so we've been in contact with, like you said, the powers that be in Raleigh. We're waiting for the why. So when we saw it on Monday, I think it was a couple that did not get their partnership. They got awarded. You're going to get awarded, but not the one that, like we partner with Roanoke Connect. So that's what we expect. But something's going on that we can't identify. We had a big meeting on Tuesday. We have another one next Thursday a bigger group, and we're trying to figure out what's going on with the great grant. You're going to get the great grant, but it may not be with the person or the company, rather ISP that you partner with. If that's the case, there's a plan B that we're not working on. There's another pot of money that we can, when I say we, I'm talking about all the county, can access along with the great grant, but we can't access it until the great grant had completed all of their since all their grants. That won't happen to the end of August. So I'll keep everybody informed best I can about what's going on. We don't know what's going on. We're just waiting and seeing. So next Monday, we expect another, announcement, then another, and another, until they get it all out, and then we'll go to Plan B. So I've been in contact with those counties that have already been awarded. They're not getting any response right now.
Yeah. Can Mike Irvin shed any light on that possibly?
He just hired a new person, Courtney Smith. That's their broadband person, and I work closely with her. I was on the phone, I don't know, one day, today's Wednesday, I don't know what day it was. But she sent out a notice as well, and I think I forwarded that from her. Instead of me copying everybody from mine, I just sent her, of course, the same list. If you go to the governor's press page, it's election year. He's got everything up there. He's doing everybody. And that's good because now they're being very transparent, but we don't understand what's going on. But we will get funded. That's a given, but it may not be with our first choice. But in the second round of a different pot of money that they approve, those are different criteria. And we will talk about that later when I know the criteria. I just don't want to get into it right now because we're in the middle of the great grant. But broadband is moving forward. We will get grant monies. And also, I was in Camden this morning. Sherry Beasley, who's running for Senate, was there. I went intentionally because she's a champion for broadband. So I raised my little hand and put a plug in for Northeast North Carolina, the little guy. We're so small over here. And they have deep pockets across the rest of the state. So, and we have some calls into some people. But I'll keep you informed. We're moving forward. We're going to get broadband. Won't be tomorrow, but we're going to get it. And we'll move forward. So that's my update with that. Any questions about that? And I'll keep forwarding the emails. The review and selection of firm for preparation of land use concept plan for County 144 acre site, Highway 158. Ms. Cherry?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
How are you doing tonight? Sun's bright.
Yes.
Well, I'm here tonight to talk about proposals for the conceptual plan for the 144 acre site, as you stated. Back in June, I was directed to contact 3 qualified architectural and engineering firms to request an estimate and a price for a conceptual plan for the site. And 3 firms were contacted. That was Summit Design and Engineering Services, the East Group, and Eastern Carolina Engineering. Summit Design and Engineering Services submitted a proposal for a scope and fee of $18,500. The East Group submitted a scope and fee proposal for the conceptual plan of $20,000, not to exceed fee. And Eastern Carolina Engineering decided not to submit a proposal. But they would help, if we needed any help in the future for construction of the site, design of the site.
What did you say for the first one, the summer?
Summit Design and Engineering.
Summit.
Yes, Summit.
I'm sorry.
And the second one, if you don't mind again?
Was the East Group.
East Group.
The East Group.
And what was the summit cost?
That was $18,500. And then the East Group was $20,000. And they were all sent, the material, same material, everything, even keel. Then Eastern Carolina Engineering, they were sent an invitation as well, and they decided not to bid at that time. And at this time, staff recommends Summit Design and Engineering Services for for this. They were both proposals that were submitted, they're great firms, great architectural and engineering firms. The cost came in lower, yes, but I have to say Summit did reach out, and we had a meeting with all the staff that would be working on this, that would be a part of the team. They did put in the time. They actually came to the site, to my knowledge, is what they had indicated, and definitely asked the right questions. And they are very interested in Gates County. They are very active. They have offices, 14 offices all over the United States, and they are opening an office in Franklin as well. So they will have a local office near us. They're licensed, of course, in North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina. Hillsborough is where they're headquartered. They've been around since 1997 and have much success. And at this time, if the board sees fit, our next step is, as we stated in previous meetings, a concept plan would come next. And we would ask that you give us, with your pleasure, to negotiate and accept this concept plan. And to sum it up, to let the county manager negotiate and authorize a contract with Summit at this time.
Questions?
Madam Chair,
Have any
I'd
questions?
like to hear, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to hear County Manager, if he has anything he wants to add to that.
No, we've discussed this and we're both in agreement. We were impressed with how diligent they were in just putting the proposal together, and that makes us feel very confident they'll be equally diligent in preparing a plan. So no, we both wholeheartedly support negotiating a contract with this company based on this proposal.
Madam Chair, this is the next, again, as Ms. Cherry said, is the next step, first phase.
What will this plan consist of? Just
This
what we need?
would be a conceptual plan, I'll call it the broad brush,
Yeah.
of how you wish to develop the property. And then once that's accepted, it would move into a master plan, and that would be more detailed.
Does county manager, do you know anyone with Summit?
No, I know of the firm. I know they do have a good reputation.
Yes, we've seen examples of their work. Like I said, they've been around for a while, and they went that extra mile, I have to say. Again, they definitely put forth that effort and are willing to help us. And the proposal that they've sent, I hope you have. If you don't have a copy, I'll be more than happy to provide that to you. They even went so far as, in the future, if you'd like to see a master plan, they submitted that as well, to move into the future if necessary. So,
I would
again,
like to see those,
Yeah.
just to see their
yeah,
work.
most certainly.
Get your comments.
I heard you
Most
say that they asked the right questions,
Yes.
things that you felt like pertain to Gates County and to our site.
Yes, the whole team, 2 architects, civil engineer, the team that would lead the team, they set up a meeting ahead of time and met it was over probably right at an hour, and asked, again, all the questions, any of the information that we had that we could provide, any of the information about talking to you as a board. You're going to have input as well, about what you would like to see or anything you would like to add to the project. Of course, what Brad's working on. I mean, all these things are going to, tie in together. So that's why collaboration is going to be key, and communication in this. So.
Is there a component for the public to weigh in as well?
They have proposed that.
Okay, good.
Yes.
We need that.
Some engagement. Yes.
So did we, they don't know that we're considering them versus anybody else, but Did they give you any kind of timeline, like if they were approved, what they'd want to do and when they'd want to start?
They indicated they would start, and that was another key factor into this. East Group could not start till later, and Summit could start when you needed them. That is something that, while their design team wanted to know, what our expectations were, of course, negotiations.
So they could start in a
Yes.
reasonable amount of time?
Yes.
And how long will it take to do a conceptual?
It depends on what you want to see in this concept plan and what needs to be done. Because again, Summit went above and beyond. They even looked at our land use plan and reviewed
Looked at our what?
our land use plan.
Okay.
They reviewed that, which is a big, and that's really something that you want to see. They were that engaged with our county. I did not tell them to review that. They went that far. So
Detail.
that means a lot. Very much
You didn't get a
detail.
boilerplate proposal. You got, feet and eyes on the ground proposal, which was, we hope that, like I said, that they have that same diligence in the product. But getting back to your question, the length of time, part of that will be dependent upon the process, community involvement, how much. There'll probably be at least, 2 meetings with this board, one to get original thoughts on how you wish to develop it, and then bringing that back to you to see how close, and then move on from there. So part of it will be dependent on the process,
Yes.
and how much public involvement and when. But what do you think, Ms. Cherry?
For the concept plan, again, how you look at that, that is, like you said, a macro, looking at above that. I would say, depending on, again, the meetings and the involvement and how many, changes you would want to see. They're offering 2 overall concept plans in the end. That will
So
be
that
the
we can
final product.
compare.
Yes, so you have those in the end and providing those to us. I would say if we have not too many revisions to that plan, if they can begin and the information is there, I would say from beginning to end, hopefully 3 months.
Yeah, I've seen 3 to 4
Yeah,
months.
3 months is typical for a 20% plan. When you look at percentage, a concept plan is like a 20-25% plan assembly.
Do you, at what point will the covenants that we desire come into play?
That would start being discussed more with the master plan, because that's when you're going to start getting into specifics of the development. So things like covenants, that you want to see, maybe certain architectural style, minimum, certain landscaping requirements, that's, because those details, like I said, would be in the master plan. And if you wanted to make sure that you got those, that's when the covenants would be developed.
So they're going to propose, we would say, the property would be entered here,
Yeah.
and the roads would be this way, this would give you this many lots over here, so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
The layout.
they're looking at things like, we've already
Sidewalk.
discussed informally that southeast corner is what we call it, the sweet spot, so to speak, for a grocery store.
Right.
And that's something that we would like to see there, so that would be in there. And then we'd start looking at what do we want along the roadway. Is there an opportunity maybe on the rear of the property for, like, say, maybe a small light manufacturing operation? Is that something you're open to?
Right.
Because they're not going to be as concerned about visibility from roadways and things. So those are all the types of things.
And they have like a small industrial park in the back and the
Yeah.
pretty stuff up front.
Yeah, because they have the businesses, they want that highway exposure. They want to be seen, but,
So you can get the people off
yeah.
the highway.
When they do like the retention ponds and that type of stuff, if we need.
That's what we've talked about, and that's how we're gonna tell them that we would like to see, based on the land, that if they could design it so that it's probably gonna be, maybe 3 or 4, so that each parcel or each business, how it gets developed, isn't gonna have to do their own on-site, that it will feed into, area stormwater management areas where it just flow from their properties into a receiving pond, because you'll get, like I said, as much property as we can. I'd much rather use the property to place buildings on than things like stormwater basins, on-site wastewater disposal. That's why I like the wastewater component. Moving ahead with that is so critical to the development of the site. You know, we want to put buildings there, not infrastructure that takes up the space of buildings.
But it makes sense so you don't have a pond with every business.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chair, based on the recommendation of Ms. Cherry and the county manager, I want to make a motion that we select Summit Design Engineering Services as our engineer design.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you, sir.
It's been properly motion by Owens, seconded by Commissioner Freeman, that we select Summit as our conceptual design. Am I saying that right, Lisa?
Yes,
Conceptual.
you did. Yes, you did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. And also, don't forget to send the plans to everybody, so we can see.
Do you want to?
Oh, yeah, I want to see that.
Would
too.
you like a copy now? I'll be whatever and give it to you. Then I'll send one to everybody. We have it electronically as well.
Okay. All right.
I will give you a copy right now.
With that said, I think we've covered everything on this special meeting. Brad, don't forget to register for next week, August the 9th at Williamston.
Thank you.
Those of you who have received the link to the on-demand, go in and register. That's at your own pace.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I did want to inform you that I had made contact with Ashton Lewis Lumber Company.
Okay.
And went there again today and got the information that you requested me get.
All right. Fantastic. This is part of infrastructure. Ashton Lewis has asked for, what is it, larger, what do you call it?
Volume, they need a volume of water.
Volume of water increased. So I asked Commissioner Owens, I think he visited with the county manager a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So they're circling back around, trying to figure out, okay, what is it they need? And Brad, you know, you need to talk with these two gentlemen and see what Ashton Lewis needs. I think they're the second largest employer in the county. And so if whatever we're doing with water, this is just me. The gentlemen know better than I do. We need to include them, you know, in our water plan, water expansion or water whatever. So, you know, take a trip out there with the gentlemen and nail them down. See what they need. So as you're planning with green engineering, with the assessment of the county of water, we can include that and see what we can get out of that relationship too, you know.
Because it means increase in production and maybe increase in the workforce as well.
Oh, yeah.
Production, workforce,
So
tax
that's
base.
what pay for us to.
And that's one of the things they were talking about with all the counties, as you plan for the future, what does the future look like as far as the current businesses that may need infrastructure upgrades with water, wastewater. So I'm pleased that's happening. Thank y'all for coming. On the first Wednesdays at 6:30, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking and trying to figure out and hear from our infrastructure people and vote on things and get things done. I have 2 action items for documents. I mean, one is up for a document we got to get together for green engineering, county manager, so.
Just a little over an hour.
But
That's
we
a good
could be here long.
time well spent.
You know, it's time well spent. And I think I hope that was beneficial to those who are listening virtually, that yes, we are doing work for the county. And we may think it's redundant, or Mr. Arnold, we're introducing him and making sure they understand that we're listening to him, listening to the county manager as we move this big project along with water, wastewater, and broadband. Now I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.